Similar to what James said a few minutes ago, it was only a week, maybe, after USC and UCLA were added. I posted a video and I said, if I'm the Big Ten, I go after Florida State and Miami. Because if you're looking at what everything that you want out of a football conference, the Big Ten can check all the boxes, except for where are the players coming from. Well, Ohio's about seventh or eighth in the nation, but it's down in regards to numbers, nowhere close to where it would need to be. And besides Ohio, there's some players in Michigan. There's a few players here. There's not enough quality of players or quantity of players. Go to Florida. That's the only thing you don't have, Big Ten. You've got major media markets. You got all the money in the world. Your academics are great. Your football is great. You produce the second most NFL players to the SEC, and you blow the other three conferences away in every other measurable, the most fans at the games and the best TV ratings. Go to Florida, set down a footprint there, grab players.
I agree.
There you go.
Real simple.
That is my thought, and I know I weigh heavy on the football side of it and the TV side because that's my background. But yeah, Tony has certainly balanced me out as well in providing a ton of academic and cultural metrics and narrative. And that guy is a historian as well when talking about these conferences and how they've aligned and which schools align with what. And, I made a comment to him and it was more of a question to say, has technology even more so connected these conferences? And he's like, absolutely. These conferences are much more connected and it's much more important who you're aligned with today than it was 40 years ago. And it was even important then, but certainly with technology, the databases get shared, all this gets shared. I don't know if he told you guys this, but he said, even when it comes to rental cars, he threw out some kind of number that the Big Ten saves like $8 million a year because they all are together on rental cars for all the rental cars that all these schools need for everything. You just build those kind of relationships and those kind of connections. And again, the libraries and the databases all being connected, that it's a big deal. It is a big deal.
And this is what I told people before, is like whether you believe whatever conference it's going to, you don't need to be a true insider. You just need to be able to read the tea leaves and use this thing that most of us who took geometry in high school understand as deductive reasoning. And you can't, because I think Mike Alford said it, we cannot give $30 million a year to our peers and expect to be able to compete. It's just very difficult. But one of the things that I want people to stop realizing, and I think either of the situations will be good, SEC or the Big Ten. But I want people to step back and realize that not very much things have changed. And I think I saw a comment where somebody stated that we have more natural rivalries in the SEC. I asked, how? I mean, we don't have, like, the only rivals we have are the University of Florida, Miami, and Clemson since 1991. We don't have rivalries with South Carolina. We maybe compete sometimes with Georgia for recruits, but we don't have a rivalry there. We're not rivals with Alabama. The only thing that we have in common is that we're in the South. Which I always argue with people is that 7 of our games are played in the South, regardless. We have 7 to 8 home games every year. Every school has it. Mark, you live in the Northeast. It gets cold sometimes, I'm sure, in the beginning of November. When would you say it really snows up that way if you're going to get a good snow?
Most of the time, we don't see any snow until 2 weeks before Christmas.
And you know what's done pretty much 2 weeks before Christmas? Football. Like, we've had our conference championship games.
Yeah.
We're not playing bowl games up north, hopefully. And even then, the Midwest, I mean, you may have a snow right around Thanksgiving, but you know what we have? What we're blessed by state law in the state of Florida, we have to play the University of Florida around Thanksgiving time. So that's one of your games. The coldest month we'll have to deal with in the Big Ten is in the month of November. And we're luckily this year we'll play Pitt, and we're praying that Pitt won't snow. It snowed when we played Boston College the last few times, flurries, but it has snowed on the last 2 times that we've been there. And guess what it does in the SEC? It snows in Missouri. It's cold as hell in Missouri. It's
Hmm.
cold as hell in Arkansas. It's cold as hell in Kentucky. It's cold as hell in a lot of these places. Like, it's a lot of the arguments that people have. I'm like, it doesn't make sense, your argument.
Absolutely. So everything that you just outlined, I have told to USC fans to send them off the edge, or keep them from the edge, or told to the Big Ten hardliners that are like, we can't wait to see USC and see them play in the snow. And I'm like, who plays in the snow? Yes, it happens. It happens on the last 2 weeks of the November in Minnesota or Wisconsin, but they've got the same situation as you have. They're going to play UCLA the final game of the season. So they're going to be playing in Southern California. They play Notre Dame every other year, and they play, they play every year, but every other year in Southern California, the final week of the season. So 2 of their 4 games in November are going to be in. So yes, they could play a rant there. It's always possible that by some fluke there could be a 30-degree day in the first 10 or 15 days in November that somebody could run into Florida State going to Wisconsin or Minnesota. But I looked up the average temperature in Columbus, Ohio for the last week of November, and it's 54 degrees. So
It could very well be that in Tallahassee. Like, and that's what I just try to tell people. My father lives in Columbus, and my father lives in Columbus, Ohio. He sends me the pictures of how bad it is, but it's in January normally when it's bad. And guess what? That's basketball team. That's Leonard Hamilton's problem. But they play indoors. Like baseball, that might suck. But I don't really know how that works. So I just think a lot of it is just it's changed. I wasn't really I don't really know what it was like when we left the Metro Conference or when we left being independent to go to play in the ACC. But right now it's all about doing what's best for the conference. And right now the Big Ten has more fiscal dollars dedicated to the educational side. And right now they're more profitable than the SEC. And if we come into the conference, all you're going to do is renegotiate a new deal that's nationwide, and a nationwide deal through multiple different channels with CBS, Fox. I don't know if
NBC.
NBC was NBC, and if you add in the streaming situation with what they're probably going to want to do as well, uh, you're talking about a contract that's going to be able to provide you with significant resources.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, James, we appreciate you stopping by because I know that you're covering the NFL Combine and have a million things going and have a uh, appointment there at 8 o'clock. So appreciate you. Chris, thank you so much for stopping by. This is Chris Fraser from Spear Addicts. And again, they've got an interview coming up with Mike Alford, Florida State Athletic Director. So that is big time and not to be missed.